All right, you are going to be creating your final painting for painting one using acrylic paint. And so today we're going to talk about how to find how to find a reference image and how to decide what you want to paint. So, for your final painting, your subject matter is up to you. So, you are going to pick what you want to paint. I always prefer that you paint from your own photos, whether that's a photograph that you took or a photograph that you create now for this project. When you're taking that photo, it can be something like a screenshot. So that's something to think about. You are then taking that photograph, right? So you can also use Morguefile or Pixabay, remembering that those are our copyright free image sources. Um, but when we're on those sites, we do have to make sure that we're avoiding the sites that want money or have watermark. And on Pixabay in particular, you want to make sure that you're avoiding any of the like cartoon graphics or artwork that's on that site, and you want to make sure you stay with photography. You really do want to make it meaningful, right? The most important artwork is artwork that says something about who we are as people, or says something about a concept or an issue that's important to us. The best artists like always work that way. They tap into what's important to them, and they use that in their work. So I want you to think that way too. What do you want a painting of, and why? Obviously, if I'm picking something that's personally meaningful to me, it's going to have what we call a focal point or a reason that we're looking at the painting, because it will be a painting of something. This is your chance to get creative and explore making a painting for yourself and making changes to a reference photo to create a painting that is unique and uniquely yours. So you do need to make a plan today and find any reference photos that you need. I really do encourage you to combine photos or to create your own photos specifically for this assignment. Artists don't just go onto the internet and find photographs. They make photographs of what they want to paint. So that is something that you can do to kind of push yourself to work a little differently this time. You also want to plan how you're going to change color. You don't, as an artist, have to paint everything the real color that it is. And we have seen that as we have worked on some of our paintings this trimester. And there are other options for you to change color scheme other than just using monochromatic color. But changing the color and not painting realistic color is one way that artists sort of simplify or change the message of their work. You do need to choose your image for a reason other than easy, and we've talked about this a lot this school year. And for this project in particular, I'm asking for your painting to have a reason, a why that you're choosing to paint this image. So if my why is, well, I grew up on a farm and I'm looking for a picture of a farm, obviously one of the examples on the screen is incredibly boring. I might get farm from the photo on the left. Really, it's just green grass and a sky, and there's no real reason for us to make a painting of that. The next one would be okay, not great. It still isn't really reading farm. And I would have some questions to ask myself before I made that a painting in terms of what to do about the fence post that is at the front of the painting, because it's not going to make a ton of sense later on when people can't see the photograph. So it's always something we have to think about too, is what changes do we need to make to our photo to make our painting be a better painting. if I'm thinking farm, both of these solutions are better options for me, where I actually now have a barn and a landscape that I'm painting from. Okay, so I want to make sure that my message is clear when I'm choosing a photograph. So I want to paint a farm. These two definitely both look like what we would traditionally think of or stereotypically think of as a farm. We have the red barn, there's some fields, there's some trees. In terms of use of space and composition, the one on um, the right hand side is best because it is a more interesting composition, a more interesting use of space. As humans, we find straight lines and even spacing to be fairly boring. And so on the right hand side, I have some diagonal lines, which are more interesting, a little more active, and just a little bit more interesting perspective on the barn. So make sure that when you're choosing your photo, not only is it important to you in terms of the concept that you want to get across and what you want to paint, but also that the photo itself is going to give you an interesting painting. We do also want to avoid anything that is going to be too busy. You can see on the screen here, this is an apple farm, right? An orchard. And I can't figure out a way to make that happen as a painting. So you do have to kind of make those assessments too. Is the painting just going to be too hard, or photo going to be too hard to paint from? This photograph would be incredibly complex to paint from. And we've talked about that before, that I have to be able to evaluate and sort of self-assess, is this going to be possible to make a painting from? Can I see a way to make this painting, sort of even understanding what my current skill level as a painter is, right? So that's something that you have to do for this assignment too. You do have to be a thinking artist when you choose your reference photo and make a smart choice. Well done simplicity is always fantastic. A photo doesn't have to be complex. The items that you paint don't have to be earth-shattering in order for your finished painting to look fabulous. Both of these photographs would make beautiful final paintings, and you could easily set up something like this at home and take a picture. You could include objects that are important to you as a person. Sort of think about it as like 3 of your favorite things and set them out and make a painting of those. You can make a painting of your favorite food, your favorite breakfast, your favorite pair of tennis shoes. Making a photograph that is uniquely yours really gives your painting special meaning. You want to think about how you're going to change the colors to create something that is actually feels like a painting, right? We don't need to always paint with a photorealistic style. We can choose to simplify things. We can choose to add some texture to things, and we can choose to make things not be their realistic color. So you can see this artist has obviously taken a photo of a flower arrangement, but there isn't anything particularly realistic about these flowers. They have been painted using some lighter and darker values of all the same, like it's what we call an analogous color scheme. It's red, red, violet, and blue, violet. And they've done a really beautiful job of simplifying those flowers so that they are easier to paint, and unifying the color from the back to the front to make the painting really feel like something that belongs together. So it is something you need to consider, is how are you going to simplify and how are you going to change color so that your painting feels like a painting. You can also simplify your image using a computer program. So there are many photo editing softwares that will, this is called posterize, or sometimes they call it woodcut or stamp. And this artist took a photograph of a gymnast, obviously, and applied one of those filters to the photo. And you get that like kind of superhero or cartoonized effect from that, where you have the dark, the medium dark, the medium light, and the light. And it's kind of, instead of having to manipulate the acrylic paint so that those values are smooth, those values have been specifically broken out into shapes. And when you transfer a photo that has been altered like this, you almost get a paint by number sort of a feel. And you are welcome to do that with your final photo. If this sort of superhero kind of cartoon effect is good for you, or if you have struggled to kind of get your value shapes to be smooth and kind of realistic, this is a way that you can take a photograph and edit that photograph so that it's better for you to paint from. And again, you can use a photo program called PicMonkey, and I'll post a link in Classroom, and it is the posterize effect that will do this. And you do have to play around with it to get the full effect that you want, but you are welcome to do that. You are also welcome to combine photographs. So if I want to paint these little chickadees on the left, it is, not the most interesting painting because the background is just sort of boring. Maybe I want to give the background more of a landscape effect and paint these aspen trees in the early fall where the leaves have gone all golden, and I can paint the trees and that little bit of a foresty landscape in the background and then add the birds over the top. So this is an opportunity for you to get fully creative and create your own reality. It's sort of the power of being a painter, is that you get to combine photographs and create the painting that you want to see come into the world and that you want to have when you're finished. So here's some thoughts to keep in mind. You do need a focal point or an area of interest or the subject of your photo, a reason we're looking at your painting. We have to remember that if we're picking a photo because we think it looks easy, a lot of times that gives us no creative wiggle room. Some of the things that seem like they might be easy to paint are actually some of the hardest things to paint. And then if we're picking a photo that has no real interest, no real subject, it does become a painting without an interest or a subject. And there's no reason to look at a painting that doesn't have a reason for us to look at it. You also are going to need to plan changes to the reference photo that you either find or create. So thinking about cropping to eliminate extra background space that just doesn't need to be there. Think about how you can simplify the photo to make the message of your painting more clear. So think about minimizing your background elements, and that sort of thing can be done in a photo editor as well. You can blur backgrounds or change colors so that your reference photo really reflects what your painting vision is. You can also, and you should also, make some sort of color plan. You certainly can paint fairly realistic colors to the photo that you take, but you can also plan what kind of color changes you're going to make. And you can, like I said, you can go ahead and edit your photograph before you turn it in using some photo editing on your Chromebook or on your cell phone to make those changes happen before you upload that reference photo. That way your reference photo is closer to the vision that you have in your head for your painting. For this project, this is the final painting that we'll do, and we've done a lot of learning about how to make a painting happen. And so here is how the grading will happen. You will be graded on composition, which is your use of space. And this one has to do directly with your photo choice. Have you made a good choice for photo? Does your photo subject matter fill the space well? We don't have too much empty space. Are there interesting components in the photograph itself? Does this photo make sense for you to paint from? The second category you'll be graded on is creativity and expressive qualities. This is a combination of changes that you make, like combining photos, changing colors, how have you simplified the image to make your painting more clear, and on your choice of photo and how it relates to you as a person, right? What is your why for making this as a painting? And you, that's you putting you into your work. So you do want to make sure that you're thinking about that as a component of your work. And then, of course, you will be graded on your successful painting technique. So your job today is to find a reference photo and alter it as you need to and upload it to Google Classroom. You also need to answer my question, which is why? Why are you choosing this photo to paint from right now? Have a great long break, and I will see you guys later.